published 1913 EDT, the 2nd of November 2017, updated 2103 EDT, the 2nd of November 2017. Pauline Reade was murdered by notorious killers Ian Brady and Myra Hindley at the age of 16. Body parts from Amore's murders victim have been kept by police for 30 years without her family's knowledge. Pauline Reade was murdered by notorious killers Ian Brady and Myra Hindley when she was just 16 years old. Her body was discovered 24 years later in 1987, following a search of Saddleworth moors. Pauline's family believed they had finally laid her to rest after a funeral at Gorton Cemetery, but following the death of Brady in May this year, an audit was carried out and some of her remains were discovered at Leeds University, where they had been kept on behalf of Greater Manchester Police (GMP). It is understood the body parts held include her jawbone and hair samples. Her family now face having to stage a second funeral. Jackie Reade, Pauline's niece, was told about remains in a call from GMP offices. Pauline disappeared before Ms. Reade was born, but she was 13 when her body was found and remembers her family's pain. Each week Ms. Reade went with Pauline's mother Joan to lay a single rose on her grave. This week GMP delivered a wooden casket holding Pauline's remains to Ms. Reade's solicitors. The 44-year-old said, "I am devastated. It has brought it all back. I am disgusted that part of Pauline could be kept like this. I was 13 when Pauline was found. I remember the day very clearly. My nana and granddad, Pauline's parents Joan and Amos, were still alive at the time. My nana couldn't believe that they had found her. The family were so relieved. My nana had been very ill from day one of her disappearance with all the stress of it." Pauline was murdered by Brady and Hindley on July 12, 1963, and the pair went on to kill another 4 children aged 10 to 17. "It was piece of a kind for us, that at last she had been laid to rest, and we had some closure. My nana held my hand at the funeral. We would take my nana every week to the grave. She would always lay a single rose, every week until she passed away. We had got her back, and knew where she was. The police called me in the middle of August and said they had stumbled across some stuff. They came to see me. They said now Ian Brady they have found items. I thought it was going to be Pauline's gold necklace. They said it was a piece of her jawbone and I couldn't believe it. It was heartbreaking. We thought she was all there together. They asked what I wanted to do with the jawbone. Did I want it donated to science, or cremated? I said no way. These parts should not have been separated from her." Pauline's niece Jackie Reade, pictured, said she was devastated and disgusted that Greater Manchester Police had kept her remains for all this time. They knew who she was. They had identified the body, yet they kept them. I just can't believe it. The family had no idea. This family has been through enough. It is mind-boggling. It has brought it all back. I feel angry. When the police sent me a letter they said I was Pauline's auntie. They couldn't even get that right. The police just said they had been kept for evidence. But they knew who she was. There was no need for them to keep them. There was no need for them to keep the jawbone. It is awful. Pauline's grave is a family plot, and her mother, Joan, father, Amos, and brother, Paul, who all day after her, all lie in the same place. It means that to bury Pauline's remains 4 licenses will be required from the Ministry of Justice to move the boss of all the family members. Ms. Reade, pictured, holding a family photo of Pauline, said it was heartbreaking when she was given the news by GMP officer SMS. Reade said, "As a family we want to put all the parts back with Pauline, where they should be. But to do that we will have to disturb all 4 graves. I think I should get an apology from the police. We will hold second funerals for all of them." Peter Hall, head of civil litigation for Tranter's Solicitors of Stockport, who is representing Ms. Reade, said for Jackie to receive news that parts of Pauline's body had been retained for no good reason was devastating. It has created great distress and there has been no explanation or apology from GMP. Jackie's wish is that all of Pauline's remains are buried together as it should have been all along. Unfortunately, 3 other graves will be affected in returning the body parts to Pauline's grave, so that applications have to be made for each grave to the Secretary of State for the appropriate licenses to avoid breaches of the Burial Act 1857. When I have the applicable licenses, Jackie will be able to proceed with the reburial in respect of her father, grandfather, grandmother and of course Pauline. I know Jackie wants to invite a number of family members and others who have provided support over the years to the ceremony. It is an utterly bizarre and disturbing case, and I can see no reason why such materials needed to be kept from the family for over 30 years, and by doing so it has created great upset and anger that was totally avoidable. Pauline's body was not found until 24 years after her murder, by Brady and Hindley. Pictured, her funeral service on August 6, 1987. Martin Bottomley, head of GMP's Cold Case Unit, said, "We recently became aware that human tissue belonging to Pauline Reade had been stored in external premises on behalf of GMP. The samples had originally been kept for investigative purposes. As soon as we became aware of this, we contacted Pauline's family to make arrangements so that the samples could be laid to rest in whichever way they felt most fitting. This is a deeply sensitive matter, and understandably it has caused some upset with the family. However, we felt contacting them was the right thing to do, and we have given them a number of options, all of which GMP will pay for." The Moors murders was one of the most evil acts that happened in this country in the 20th century, and although those responsible were brought to justice, we will continue to provide support to the families of the victims in any way that we can. Pauline was murdered by Brady and Hindley on July 12, 1963. The pair went on to kill another 4 children aged 10 to 17. Her body was not found until 1987 after a 3-month search of Saddleworth Moor. It was discovered just inches below the surface in peat, 250 yards from a main road on July 1. An appeal has been launched through crowdfunding to help Jackie with the cost of the reburial at https://www.justgiving.com. Crowdfunding Jackie Reade.